But to another panic that's being preached and our children, global warming, catastrophic global warming. God, we seem to be fear junkies at the moment, don't we? Our National Primary School English Teachers Association, there is such a thing, they've decided to scare the children in their classes with this book that is published, Teaching the Language of Climate Change Science. This is such an abuse of their power and their access to our children. I'll give you a flavour of it. It includes a kind of song or prayer that it once used as a school anthem. I'll read it to you. Earth is getting warmer, oceans rising higher. Storms are growing stronger, floods and fire. We know about the dangers. No, there must be changes. The future is in our hands. Maybe we've got a problem that we don't teach poetry properly in schools rather than global warming. But anyway, this book also suggests that students sit down and write a letter to their principal saying, we are determined to use Greta Thunberg as our inspiration. Not some scientist, by the way, just some hysterical child. And get together with other students to do things that really make a difference. Could we please make an appointment to speak with you about our ideas? I mentioned before, we have leaders who follow, don't lead. These children should be, according to this Teachers Association, these children should be now teaching their principal, not the other way round. But what are they actually being taught in this book? Well, this book is actually chock full of the most outrageous fake claims and exaggerated scares. If you see your child's teacher using this book in class, call them out. And just check that they're not also teaching the fake claims of fake Aboriginal Bruce Pascoe. Pretty sure, same kind of people. Let me go through some of this supposed textbook with Tony Thomas, who's a journalist, a columnist and an author who's gone through this book in a brilliant article in Quadrant Online. Tony Thomas, great to catch up with you.
Hi, good to see you, Andrew.
Effort. You read the book so that we don't have to, but can you tell us, how do the authors of this book and this Teachers Federation want this book to be used?
Well, it's a guide not to learning but to action. The whole book is oriented to kids becoming activists. In fact, it even says Chapter 9 is a call to action. Without students taking personal action to mitigate climate change, there is no point to this book.
Well, okay, so it's actually a school for activists. But let's now go through the book's claims. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go through the book's claims. Because of global warming, and I'm quoting, it says, vital food chains are disrupted. Now, that is absolutely not true, is it?
No. It's because they claim that the Antarctic's warming, whereas there has been no warming in the Antarctic for the past 70 years, according to studies in the esteemed science journal Nature only about 6 months ago.
Yeah, well, as for the food supplies, they claim are being disrupted. In fact, world grain crops have been setting new records all through the last decade. One record after another. Australia grain crops as well. We are in fact growing more food than we use, so that is absolutely flat false, as is the claim about the Antarctic. What does it say about polar bears, Tony?
Oh, don't get me started. The polar bear stuff about the polar bears becoming extinct because they didn't have any more sea ice has been debunked 10 years ago. The facts are that there's 25 to 30,000 polar bears as of 5 years ago, and their numbers are increasing all the time since then. But how about this? The book actually urges teachers to coach kids to give money to the Polar Bear Institute in North America, which is just an activist group. And elsewhere, they say encourage the kids to give money to international green groups. Well, since when have teachers been telling kids to empty their pockets for the teachers' pet causes? It's just disgraceful.
Tony, what does it say about Pacific Islands?
Oh, they're sinking, of course. There was only one real climate scientist on the entire panel of 20 that was supposed to check all this stuff. All the others were just teachers of literacy and teachers of English and all that sort of thing. There's endless other scares. They're scaring about droughts, even though the CSIRO admitted that there's no study showing a link between climate change and bushfires. They're talking about hurricanes. You and I both know that the studies show that the hurricanes have been subsiding during the past century. It just goes on and on.
Yeah, and as for the drowning islands thing, even the ABC has now admitted in a story this year, which knocked me off my perch after so many years of listening to their alarmism, most of the islands are in fact stable or growing, not sinking. Half are stable, according to the latest research, and 3 times more islands are growing than are shrinking. So I don't know why this is not in this book. Now, there's even a claim that earthquakes could get worse. How on earth could global warming cause more earthquakes?
It's just ridiculous. They actually feed the kids a whole portfolio of books. Each one's got called things like droughts, cyclones, hurricanes, bushfires, and the kids have this portfolio of books about disasters to read. I mean, talk about happy little children in class.
Yeah, well, I have to say, the only true scientific advisor, looking at this book was a bloke that led the Ship of Fools expedition. Tell us about that.
Oh, well, that's Professor Chris Turney of the University of New South Wales. He took a ship down full of climate scientists and joyriders, and they were going to prove that the Antarctic was running out of ice, and they got stuck in the ice, and then another ship had to come and rescue them, and that got stuck in the ice, and then a third ship had to come, and finally they managed to escape by helicopter. But meanwhile, the whole science program down in the Antarctic was disrupted while they were trying to rescue the Ship of Fools crew.
I have to say, honestly, Tony, you know, how they have the hide to put this book in schools.